Good afternoon. My name is Jason Shropshire.
I'm Daniel Rakowski.
And we're from InfusionPoints. And today we're doing part 3 of a 3-part series on the FedRAMP changes that came through recently from the FedRAMP PMO. Those came through at the end of August.
August 30th. Yeah.
August 30th. This is when the blog post came out. I think the templates were up a couple days before.
Yep.
So we've been going through and doing these videos on what's changed in the document. So far we've done a video on the FedRAMP high RAR and the FedRAMP high SSP.
Yep.
And we assume that moderate and low is kind of covered there because those templates changed, but only for the what's relevant for a moderate or a low system.
Right.
So sort of the high water mark should cover all the changes that were in those other documents as well.
Yeah, addition of the boundary guidance, identity levels.
Exactly.
So on and
so forth. I mean that was the main thrust of the changes we saw was the boundary guidance that came out earlier this year in April, I think. Has been fully integrated now into all the documents. And there's a number of things that the PMO wants to see now in terms of boundary. And really in the net remaining documents, there's one thing that we've seen that's been a theme, and that's there's a lot more description now, and there's sort of a split in the process of doing a FedRAMP significant change. So today we're going to go over those differences as well as cover some of the more minor documents that changed. So let's get the minor ones out of the way. What were the first ones that we saw?
Yeah, the other minor documents that changed was the vulnerability deviation request form, which was in a PDF format. Now it is in a spreadsheet format for what the FedRAMP office says is more, to support automation processes, things like that.
Gotcha.
Just pretty minor, yeah. And then there was the baseline of controls spreadsheets, which were separated out beforehand into 4 separate ones: low impact SaaS, low, moderate, high. 4 completely different spreadsheets. Now
it was hard to compare.
Into one.
It was hard to compare baselines and say, well, if I want to go from low to high to moderate or moderate to high, what's the number of net new controls that I have, and do analysis like that. It was really difficult to do that before because you kind of had to mash all that together on your own to do any kind of analysis. But now it's all right there in one sheet. So
single pane of glass, easy to do.
That's a change that made a lot of sense. Was there anything else in that realm?
Those were the only ones that really kind of stuck out to me.
So then there are these other 3 documents that we think are pretty tightly related. There's the FedRAMP significant change policies and procedures document, which is totally net new. And then there's documents related to that, which is the old request form.
Correct.
That's been changed now. Just sort of updated, some minor updates. But then there's a whole new process document as well. Around a certain type of change. Which one is that?
The cloud service offering feature onboarding request.
Yeah, which is sort of a split from the significant change process that they document here in this new policy and procedure document.
Right.
So let's flip over to that and we'll start going through it.
Yep.
All right, so this is the new FedRAMP significant change policies and procedures document, version 1.0. So it's net new in the template realm for FedRAMP, and really, to me, this document is best explained, I think, in the is it the executive summary of this one, or is that in the other one? No, it's the other one.
That's in the other one, yeah.
All right, so really, the idea here is to describe. I think in one of these they say that there was a number of requests and questions and things that have been coming through about. How do we do a significant change? What's the process like? Who's responsible for it? Who submits and who approves? And can you do it during your annual assessment instead of doing a separate 3PAO mini assessment of the specific controls that are affected? I mean, all these kind of questions have come up, and I think that this document was their attempt at definitively saying. Here's the process, here's what you have to do, and here's who's responsible, and all of that.
They also get very granular with what is a significant change and what is a non-significant change. They go through and they give many examples around that. That roles and responsibilities table just kind of splits out who does what.
Yep.
Later on in the document, they have some nice flow charts, flow diagrams that kind of make that a little bit clearer. But
this is where you're talking about where they sort of teach you here how to determine what is significant and what's minor.
Yes.
So yeah, and they even give, I believe, some different examples, different criteria. Changes likely considered significant or major. So a new cloud service offering or feature, a new technology like a new OS variant, something that's totally net new technology change, something like that. Exactly. A FIPS categorization change.
Security tool changes. I mean, yeah, it's definitely things that are significant.
So, and they do enumerate, special requirements for specific types of significant changes. So, for a new technology, I guess that there's certain things that they want to see, and I think that even in the appendix, they actually go through for these scenarios, and they sort of give you a pre-defined list of controls that they feel are impacted for these different types.
Correct.
So they're being very prescriptive here about, if it's this type of significant change, these control areas are probably impacted. If it's this type, then maybe it's these other controls, and they're sort of detailing that stuff out here, being much more prescriptive about this. So I think the thing that intrigued us the most when going through this was this new cloud service offering or feature. This seems to be kind of a split, and it seems to be FedRAMP's acknowledgement that they kind of see almost two different levels of players, and that some have different needs. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, AWS. So AWS is they have significant changes all the time. So
rapid changes.
Yeah, rapid. And their service model is they have all types of different services that are I'm not sure if it's hundreds yet, but it's getting there rapidly. But and then the state of those services and how they filter through different regions and how they filter into GovCloud can vary. And often GovCloud lags pretty far behind. And it's an issue for a lot of our customers that are platforming in GovCloud. They want to know when those features are going to be becoming available in GovCloud. So it's very much I think something that the PMO is trying to get a hold of here is do we need to sort of have this this way for clouds that are rapidly changing and rapidly onboarding new features, sort of a way for them to do that that's probably a little bit different than the significant change process for clouds that are a bit slower, maybe only do a few changes annually. And they even define that in here. But I mean, they look for eligibility criteria. They're kind of going through this onboarding process for the new cloud service offering or feature. This new thing is really for clouds that require a significant there's a significant upfront investment. It's intended for offerings with a significant number of planned new services or features. It's not recommended for cloud service offerings that that add only a few services or features annually. So they really say, this is a fork in the road, and one goes one way and one goes the other way. Is how we're seeing this. And then the previous way is really just the old significant change process, but with a bit new. I think they've done a better job here of defining procedures and all that. So
exactly who does what and when.
So so they describe that here. They describe that these are the different moderate to high. These are the different types of changes, and then later on, I think that they actually have requirements in the appendices, like we were talking about, for which controls are impacted.
Right.
For these,
a spreadsheet, depending on which one. Yes.
So here, I think they're just going through the fields and the forms, and then we get to this nice these process flow diagrams. So significant change process. There's a nice flow diagram with the different swim lanes for different organizations, and then how the responsibility flows in between, and the different artifacts and things that need to be generated, and how the process generally flows. So I think they've done a really nice job here of putting kind of a a stake in the ground about, here's exactly what's required and how the process works. Then they go through this narrative about how the process works. So the significant change process is described here, and then there's a separate flow diagram for the new service or feature onboarding process. I almost wish they would have had sort of a diagram at the beginning of this that was a decision point, like, are you going to go this way or that way?
Which one are you going to use?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With maybe the criteria, but
scheduling so changes with annual assessments.
This issue of annual assessments, I mean, I don't know if this is due to us or not, but so I mean, I think we were one of the first cloud service providers to do this. We coupled some significant changes. We probably weren't the first, but we coupled some significant changes with our annual assessment so that we didn't have to do a 3PAO assessment mid-year between the two, between our first initial assessment and then the annual. Right. We helped the Dell Cloud for U.S. government go through that process. And then
it was Appendix B.
Really, this is when they get into the appendix. Here's the different control breakouts that we were talking about for the different change types. So this is where they give you the actual security controls that they feel are impacted for like a new interconnection or a new technology or a new data center. I think it's a really good job of being prescriptive about that kind of stuff and defining what they want to see. Did you say appendix? Yeah, appendix
B. That was it, appendix B, and then that's just the letter for the attestation.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anything else significant here? And I think that was it. This is the template.
It's a document status.
Yeah. Okay. So let's change over to the significant change form. So this is really just. I mean, what do we see changed here?
The only thing that they really did was kind of rebrand it. They said they fixed some grammar issues and stuff like that, but they also put in a 3PAO kind of validation piece.
So they wanted to make sure the 3PAO was on board with a significant change and that they evaluated it and they're contracted for the significant change.
And they have a control matrix at the end where you check in every single one of the controls that are affected and stuff like that. But nothing huge.
So really they've this is just a minor edit of the previous process. And then on the flip side of that, there's kind of this whole new process that's defined in this document. So walk us through this document. I think this is another new cloud service or feature onboarding form. And at first it doesn't jump out at you unless you know why this is here from the other document, from their processes and procedures document, that this is a net new thing and it's sort of a different way to go from the significant change.
Right. It looks like it hits on 4 pieces where it says, especially right here in the executive summary, where it says these are the pieces that really make the decision here. Is that future
basically,
services,
if any of these criteria aren't true, then you're kind of kicked out of this as being eligible for this procedure. So.
It's basically saying, your future services or features won't have any impact on the existing and already authorized pieces of your environment. So, no huge change or impact. They won't require any new controls specific to that service or feature. They won't require any changes to the configuration management or SDLC capabilities, or they also won't take any sort of have any effect on the common activities. So it's kind of saying it's a change to your environment, but it doesn't really have any impact. Like an impactless change.
Yeah, I mean, they want to, obviously here they're looking for a well-architected cloud that you don't have to go through and reauthorize all the existing services, just like in Amazon. You don't have to reauthorize the IAM service just because they added another new service, right? And then they also want, integration between those existing services like IAM, IAM roles being used to control access between different services that might be new. They want to make sure that the new services can leverage those existing services, right?
Correct.
So really, this document almost it almost struck me when I first saw it like it's a mini SSP. It's like they want to know all the integrations, the tie-ins. I think it's most illustrative to probably just look at the table of contents. But they really want to see the new services or features. They have tie-ins to the categorization and description. So a lot of this looks sort of like the SSP. And then they want to know all the touch points for the integration into the existing system.
Right.
SDLC, if there's any changes or anything there, they want later on. I think they look for validation that the CM and SDLC is all intact. Right. They want validation of that, validation of continuous monitoring, and so they're looking to make sure that the system that was previously authorized is still still functioning, not being impacted in any way, just like the 4 criteria that they stated.
Right.
They're really looking for validation that that criteria is being met, I think.
Yeah, definitely, like you said, a mini SSP, because they even reference SSP attachments in some of the appendices in this document. So yeah, it's very much kind of a snapshot of an SSP or something like it.
Yeah, I imagine that you would submit, like when you're ready for the next iteration of your SSP, for new services to go live, you have to edit the SSP to add the new services in and submit this as well.
Yep.
Is how I'm seeing this work out. I haven't seen them explicitly state that.
Right.
That would make the most sense.
And even though this does look like a lot of work more up front, seemingly, it is kind of like this is the fast track option here, where they kind of go through and they get everything validated, they get everything scanned by a 3PAO, and it's the quick option.
Right. Yeah. It's a quick option, but it also looks like it's also probably the most costly. Because just by the nature of the types of clouds that are going to be leveraging this, right? It's going to be a high rate of churn. This type of process might be executed 2 or 3 times annually as they add new services, or I imagine you might want to put a few services in at a time, but then roll those out quarterly. So I could see how we could work with a cloud provider on a strategy of how to use this process and to do rapid agile updates to their SSP and their entire package and roll continuously with that.
Yep.
All right. So I mean, I really think that really covers it. Again, a lot of changes this time from the PMO. I think it's a lot of positive changes.
Definitely.
The boundary guidance, I think, has been extremely helpful. We've been helping a couple cloud providers through their assessments and having the late breaking RAR being updated. It caused us a bit of a scramble because we were 2 weeks away from a RAR assessment. When the templates dropped, so we sort of realigned real quick and jumped on it. But I think it's been very helpful to have the boundary guidance and to be able to have the conversations of hey, here's explicitly what they're looking for when it comes to packets that enter or leave the boundary in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So I mean, that's been a very positive thing. I think this change process is going to be very helpful to cloud providers as well. I think that it's helpful. I know we had a lot of questions about it. When we were taking different changes through the annual assessment. But I think that this helps to really resolve a lot of those questions, and I'm sure there will be fresh new rounds of questions.
Oh, of course.
So this is the first video we've done with our new video rig, so leave us a comment, tell us how you like it, but thank you for watching.
Yep, thank you.